Hi, this is Matt. I'm at the American Red Cross in Washington, D.C. Today I have the privilege of sitting down with Rainier, a volunteer and someone who's been helped by the American Red Cross in the National Capital Region to talk about the work that he's done. And I'd like to hear your story of how the Red Cross helped you during your time of need. Rainier, thank you for being here today in this beautiful, historic Tiffany Hall at the American Red Cross National Headquarters in Washington, D.C. Let's jump right in. Tell me first about your first experiences with the Red Cross and how you got involved.
Well, my first experience with the Red Cross really started when I was a kid. I'm from Trinidad and Tobago, which is a little island in the Caribbean, and used to get a lot of hurricanes. And as far as I could remember, my mom always said that the Red Cross was always there to help us. So that just started and it stayed buried. And as time went on, I was in the Army for 31 years. At one point, my father was dying from cancer. And through the Red Cross, I was able to request to be stationed at the embassy there so I could be close to him in his last days. But he passed before all that came to fruition. So the Red Cross was always there. And then in 1978, my house burnt down while I was a private at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, serving with the 82nd Airborne Division. And the Red Cross was one of the organizations that helped me then. And through a lot of the literature and the package they give us, they talked about insurance and a lot of other stuff that I acted on. And so this time my house burned down for the second time. A lot of people probably say, man, that's the second time his house burned down.
Oh, so you had another house fire. When was that?
Back in 1978.
And then you had one most recently as well.
Last October.
Oh, wow.
House burned down.
Well, I'm so sorry to hear that. Let me back up just a little bit here because I'm familiar with the fact that you're a volunteer with us in the National Capital Region, correct? So tell me what it is that what you do as a volunteer, and then we'll switch gears then and get back into the house fire stuff. But what do you do as a volunteer for us?
As a volunteer, I am on the logistics team of the Red Cross in the National Capital Region. And we have a couple warehouses and a lot of trailers that we prepare for disaster. When disaster strike, they could move out and support folks that just been through some kind of natural or man-made disaster.
Sure, so the preparedness side of things.
But on the actual, so we do the inventories, we do the stacking of the trailers and that type of stuff, because I'm a logistician by trade. That's what I do in the Army, in logistics. So I also do that for the Army currently. But at the Red Cross now, whenever there is a fire or some kind of flood or storm or anything that requires them to open a shelter, I go on work shifts at the shelter.
Excellent.
Helping folks that been through that. So I was used to that side of it, helping folks that's been through it.
Right.
So last October, I was put on the other side of it to being the victim. And I learned that when you're a victim, it's best to be a victim.
Right.
Until you get the help you need. Because if you stay strong, like the Army teaches you to be, to handle anything, then you don't get the help you need. And your family would suffer.
Yeah. So tell me about the story of this latest fire last October. First of all, I'm sorry to hear it. Tell me the story of what that day was like for you.
Yeah, because we don't have all day, I'll leave out a lot of the before details and get to the fire. Well, yeah. I got the email from my daughter saying that our house was on fire and needed to come, because at the Pentagon we have to lock our phones up during the day, so they know how to reach me.
So you work at the Pentagon,
right?
Yeah.
And once I got that email, I made a phone call to the wife, and she was frantic at the time because she was being how a wife would be that's a victim. She was very animated, going through, the house burned down, come quick, you know,
It's a
what we're
traumatic
gonna do, and it's
moment.
a real traumatic moment.
Yeah.
But this is where you change hats, because you don't want to hear your wife in that mode, so you start going into that comfort mode to let her know, hey, we got this. We're totally good to go as far as anything you could do for somebody that goes through this, God forbid, and now that we in it, we got to play that card, you know. And so I tell her, hey, we got this. You know, I'm a volunteer with the Red Cross, and I'm sure they're already on the way, because I had already made a call to my boss at the Red Cross, Mr. Bauman.
Yeah.
And he told me that they were aware and volunteers was on the way to the house.
Well, that's fantastic.
So by me hearing that, I just tell her that don't make any decisions until you hear from those volunteers, because they will give you a packet with everything to answer every question. And anything you immediate need, they would ask you, and you tell them until I get there.
Sure.
Well, at that time, I was like 10 minutes away, so I was able to get there before the Red Cross got there. And then once they got there, they just says, hey, we sure are sad to see that it's you, but we're happy because we know you would be on our side.
Oh, yeah.
Prior
well,
to
and you're familiar with the process.
Right. So being familiar with the process and going through the process is two different things. I got to tell you that, because that day, just knowing that only thing you have is what's on your back, because they're not letting you get to the house, because they're still doing what the firemen and all the other professionals, first line.
Sure, that's safety first.
Right. Need to do in order to make that house safe to the public and to you. So what the Red Cross folks did do is set our mind at ease that, remember, we still got that whole warehouse of stuff. If you need anything, we're here for you.
Yeah. I remember that you mentioned a couple of the volunteers that were there, Marilyn and Myrtle.
Yes,
Marilyn. That specifically stood out to you.
Yeah, they stepped up that day and made what seemed like your worst day one of the best that you could experience going through that worst day.
Yeah.
Just to have those warming voices saying, hey, remember, one team, one fight, you know what I mean? We're here for you. And they did some things that really cemented that relationship that, you know, the Red Cross is always there. And for me, it kind of brought tears to my eyes. A lot of folks say, you know, I mean, you cry. Well, hey, when you're going through some stuff, you don't know what you'll do until you're doing it. So it's not a crying where you're wailing, but it's just bring tears to eyes to know that when you're down, folks are there for you.
That is really great.
So you could understand when you've seen it on other people, when I was supporting them, see them crying, you know, it's nothing to laugh at.
And it deepens your resolve, I'm sure, as a volunteer.
Yes, because is that what you're there for, to help folks in need, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you don't enter that role to be helped, you would miss. And when the folks are gone, then you would say, I shoulda. So what I learned so that I could carry it on now in the future when I go to help folks is to just help them to know that, hey, it's okay to be a victim, because that's what you are at that time.
Yeah.
And that's how you'll get help.
Allow the helpers to come in.
Right, exactly. And we take a lot of time and pride in wanting to help folks, because someone helped us. In my case, someone helped me. But before that, we always, even from your military experience, when you go to war in Iraq, in Somalia, you're going to help folks. You put yourself in danger. But when it's actually helping citizens of the United States,
yeah,
to me, that's bringing it home.
Yeah, it's great.
You don't get to do that a lot every day. So that's why I decided to volunteer with the Red Cross. And I still had a couple years to do so. I do my volunteering at night and on weekends whenever I get a chance to. So it's a rewarding experience, and I get more from helping folks than I would do if I didn't. So
yeah,
it just makes it a blessing for me to be able to help folks in need.
Well, I'm sorry to hear about the fire that happened last October, and a couple of just very quick questions at the end here. How are you doing now? What's the follow-up after the fire? Is everything going okay? Are you still volunteering?
Yes, I am. I'm still volunteering, and because I got monetary support from the Red Cross, And because we had good insurance, I was able to give back that money that the Red Cross gave me to the Red Cross and open some more methods of donations monthly to help on that side of the Red Cross side, because I see it in use, and I just wanted to support something like that. So I spend a lot of my time, because I can't physically be there, helping a lot of other organizations because of this experience. And I notice once I keep giving, the more I give, the more I get back. So I only thing I could tell folks is to go ahead and try giving. When you need, you try giving and see what happens. And I get it back tenfold. So if I ever complain, I think I'll get stricken down. So I just try to stay positive. There are some moments when you remember, but once you look ahead, you know it's all part of that life plan. You know, you can't give testimony unless you've been tested. And let me tell you, it's good to be tested, because it means that he's setting you up for something greater. So I just hope it's to help more folks and help more folks and help more folks.
Well, we are so grateful to have such a dedicated volunteer. I want to thank you for sharing this story with folks, because I think it's a strong story. It's very inspirational. I hope that when people are watching you and hearing you speak, that they would be inspired to go and do some volunteer work as well, helping people when they are at their lowest point. As one last comment, is there anything else that you want to share with me or share with the listeners about your experiences?
I would have to say because of the amount of training that you do with the Red Cross, and when I say training, I mean different courses that you take to get you prepared for when you reach out there, what level of questions, and we come up with these checklists and these processes. So that's key for me to keep going over that stuff that deal with when someone goes through a fire, to make sure that we can always add to whatever we already have. So that's one area I have to get involved with, to make sure we giving folks that are victims the best leg to stand on.
Sure.
And the preparedness part of it is also amazing, because I've been through the first one. I took some necessary precautions, and I just want to make sure that on those checklists that it is given out on the prepared side of the house prior to, it's tweaked, and so we could give the best advice to folks that's out there. It's always a pleasure, and I'm always proud to serve with the Red Cross. And they're near and dear to my heart.
That's great. If somebody were to ask you, hey, how can I get involved? What would you tell them? I
tell them, like we always do, go and ask Google, and they'll give you all the websites and everything will pop up and tell you just how to become a volunteer with the Red Cross.
That's right.
Website, it's real user friendly.
Yep.
And you would be amazed at the level of planning that goes into just handling disasters. I was able to go to the annual disaster conference they had here in Washington, D.C. some months ago, and you could see the level. They were expecting hundreds, and we ended up with thousands of folks just coming to see what kind of plan those first responder organizations have planned for this area and the rest of the U.S. and the international community when disasters strike. And so it's always good to be on the side of the Red Cross.
That's right. Well, Rainier, I want to thank you so much for coming and joining us today, really. Thank you for sharing your story. I loved having the opportunity to sit down and chat with you. And if anybody is listening or watching on and wants to go and volunteer or get more involved with your American Red Cross, you can go to www.redcross.org. And thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.